Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Detour Live. I'm your host Dan Jones, joined as always four-time national road champion Johnny Trevorrow, and we've brought in our old mate, sports director or head sports director of Teams Bike Exchange, Matt White. No need to do an intro with Iffy because we know who you are, and apologies straight off the bat, Whitey. You thought we were going to be on the show yesterday, but Johnny still can't wrap his head around time zones and the fact that Europe is behind. Is behind.
It's all right, Mum. It's all right, Johnny. My mum struggles with that, with the same thing as well, mate. I've only been over here 25 years, and she still hasn't got her head around it either.
You had one job, John.
We'll have you on tomorrow. Well, it was tomorrow for me, but it was the day after tomorrow for you. Anyway, and I could be tomorrow.
11:30 p.m. for me.
Tomorrow for nothing. That's right.
Yeah, and then I love it when you confronted John. I go, John, you told Whitey the day before he's on tomorrow, so he sent me a message going, "Yeah, where's the link? What's going on?" You go, "No, I didn't." Yes, you did. No, I said tomorrow. I go, you know, it's the day before. Anyway, we got it sorted in the end.
So, and I'm here, ready to go.
Ready to go. All right. I love getting those digs in early. But Whitey, great to have you on the show. We obviously want to talk about the season's underway and recap what's happened so far. Obviously, Milan San-Remo is a pretty big one on the weekend. What were the takeaways from you guys? Obviously, Bling running 6th, but there was a lot happening in the actual race itself.
There was. I think the big game changer this year's Milan San-Remo was the weather. So it was one of the just a little bit slower than the fastest Milan San-Remo. We had tailwind all day. Not so much in the first part, but when we got down to the coast, it was a ripping tailwind, 25 kilometres an hour plus. Which that in combination with the way some teams rode, it was just really hard to split the field. It was a fast one. Everyone knew that something was going to go on the Poggio. I think Ineos surprised a few with the way they railed the descent, which caught a few people out. And there was a split coming off the Cipressa. But the pace they again rode on the Poggio played into certain people's hands, and it also made attacking a little bit harder, or getting that gap a little bit harder. And we saw probably a bigger group go to the finish than we would have expected. And I was expecting 3 or 4 guys, 3 of the 4 of the big favourites to go off the front, not end up having a 12-man sprint.
Yeah, I think everyone sort of expected the talk was the 3 big names, Alaphilippe and Van Aert and Van der Poel. Everyone was expecting those 3 to sort of be forcing on the suppressor, I think. But they didn't do it. No one really did anything until the Poggios. It was all too late.
Yeah, the Cipressa was just so fast that no one could make a difference on the Cipressa, firstly. And then you had, the world's strongest man, Filippo Ganna, riding the bottom slopes of the Poggio like a world individual pursuit title, and no one moved off the wheel until the last 500 metres of the Poggio, and even then there was enough to get an elite group go away. But I think a stop-start, more aggressive Poggio and a headwind would have made a lot more difference. But look, we knew with Michael that he had to be there, ready to react with those guys. He did, and then it could have gone a lot of different ways for those 10 riders in that last 2 kilometres. And at the end of the day, one guy gambled. It was all or nothing. And the big guys watched each other and basically rode themselves out of winning Milan San-Remo.
Geez, I was just say the Eurosport commentators, they were so excited by Caleb Ewan. I mean, with about 8K to go, they were like, "Oh, Caleb Ewan's still there. Is there anything the Australian can't do?" I mean, that tailwind, as you're talking about, playing to the hands, or is he climbing and going really, really good?
Oh, I think a combination of the two. I think for someone like Caleb, he actually got a little bit sick at Tirreno, so pulled out. And I've seen him do it before. One year he pulled out with us in Tirreno and then popped out and ran top 10, I think, in his first Milan San-Remo. But I think a steady, constant pace on the Poggio. It's a 6-minute effort, and I think the worst thing for those sprinters is after 300 kilometres or 290k at that stage, a real stop-start jamming through where they've got to react multiple times to climbers. Whereas I think that pace at the bottom was worked really well, but it worked in Caleb's favour. But you've got to have the other legs to follow, and I think he did ride a very, very good ride. gave himself every chance to win. But the problem there also, when you have got someone like Caleb in a front group, no one really wants to sprint against him because they know that all those guys in the front group, Caleb was the fastest. And I think that also has an effect on that last 2 minutes of the race, that no one really wanted to drag the fastest guy in that group to the finish neither.
Yeah, no, I thought that was his only mistake of the race, maybe two. Right at the top of the Poggio, when he actually rolled to the front, I thought, you don't really need to do that. What's the point of that? You should have been better to sit back. And especially at that spot, around it, just 2K to go, just under, when he's on Van Aert's wheel. And Van Aert looks back, sees Caleb right on the wheel, and I'm not going to chase this gap now. That was the mistake. I thought if he sits back fifth or sixth wheel, maybe Van Aert would have gone a bit earlier to try and close that gap.
Yeah, play wounded duck there and sort of put on a bit of a fake face, couple of grimaces, and sort of be out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. But anyway,
I suppose from a spectator's point of view, it is frustrating when there's the 2K to go flyer that you know is going to happen, and then you've got those games going on behind. You know, everyone's looking at who's going to bridge the gap. There's not the teammates. I mean, these 2K flyers, that was happening, you know, nearly every stage at the Tour de France. I mean, is it a matter of having a guy that is just got the fresh legs, might not be the target, just backing yourself and going for it?
Yeah, it's the difference is that no one has the teammate, and then when you look at those guys in that front group are the best and the best in our sport at that sort of discipline, and the probably the weakest guy, not weakest, but you know the guy that they didn't expect to go went. And whereas if Van der Poel had done that same exact move, I'm sure the other guys would have been on him straight away because they would have went, right, well, if we don't get him now, that's the bike race gone. But because it was Stephen, who's a bloody great bike rider, but out of that 10, you know, he's probably the least of the favourites. And I think if one of the other big favourites had gone instead of him, that could have changed that whole dynamic as well.
Another interesting stat I saw, we had Heinrich Hausler on a couple of weeks ago, and we showed replays of the 2009 San-Remo, and it came out afterwards that if he was wearing a skin suit, he would have won that race. There's every single rider's wearing skin suits for those races now. No one wants to be that guy who gets done by a millimetre because they weren't wearing a skinny.
Yeah, there's lots of little things that the guys are doing now. But, you know, you look at the sock height now, with people pushing the limits with the sock height, and you know, it was pretty cold start to the day, and a lot of the guys had clothing on. But by the time we got down to the coast, everyone had stripped off, and they were wearing the same clothes as a track sprinter was wearing for the last 2 hours of the race, mate. Yeah. Aero helmets, socks up, skin suits, dumping the food, you name it.
The best was that year. Remember there was that special oil. I think McLaren had that bike. I remember Cookie, he drank the Kool-Aid that year where the McLaren would come in, they'd oil the frame because it added some sort of, you know, extra watt.
They were selling it. It was going to give them 10 watts or something like that. Yeah. And they were saying that, it was the same technology they sprayed the Formula One cars with, but no one could see the process being done, and no one could touch the bike either. So I can't remember who it was, but it was definitely a company that was connected to motorsport, and they were selling it to cycling teams as the same technology as F1. I remember one of my riders, what's his name, Italian, who won the Giro, Salvadelli. Salvadelli had the same thing done to his TT bike just for the Giro TT. They pulled it apart, sprayed it, and then put it back together, and no one could touch it. So it's one of those fads. It's one of those fads. If it was that fast, everyone would be doing it, wouldn't they?
Well, I think they forgot that in the Formula One car, they're doing 280 kilometres an hour, and at 60 kilometres an hour, it probably didn't have the same effect.
Doesn't matter, John. It doesn't matter. It could be a millimetre, isn't it? Now, I reckon just on that, I reckon you probably could, for someone like a Michael Matthews, I still remember that for Vuelta when they gave him that limited edition bike and all the bling labels and that. I reckon he got at least an extra 15 watts in the sprint. Maybe you could have just a tin of compressed air and just say it's a special spray bling, you know, it'll have a difference.
Hey, it is only March. We could be working on something. It is only March, guys. We could have something special coming.
Now, another question that was answered is the effect of testing positive for COVID. How would that affect your performance? Now, Peter Sagan had a big ride, finishing fourth. I think that put a lot of that to bed, given that, he had a pretty big race himself.
Yeah, look, it is very much. I am not a scientist or a doctor, but it's all very much about the viral load. So it's let's just say compare COVID to a common flu. If you get a mild flu and no symptoms, well then you are fine. But obviously, if you've had COVID and you have bad symptoms and it affects you for a longer period, so there is people that I know, athletes that are taking a longer time to recover from COVID, and obviously Peter Sagan had no symptoms. The only reason he actually found out that he had COVID is he needed a COVID test to get on a plane to get back from a training camp. Yeah, so right. It is very, very much case by case, and just as much of a worry for us at the moment in our little juggling act of the season is our staff getting COVID. We've had one of our staff is stuck in Japan. Azier, one of our massage therapists, his 3-year-old daughter got COVID from school. So now he's isolated at home for 10 days, so he can't go to work. So it's, there's the riders, but there's also, we've got an organisation of nearly 100 people, and we have had 6 or 7 people in that organisation with COVID, and it's a juggling act, and it's going to be a juggling act for at least this whole season until the vaccine really does kick in big numbers over here.
Well, talking about the vaccine now, Whitey, what's been the situation with you guys being able to take the vaccine? And is that your plan, to get everyone vaccinated ASAP?
Well, it definitely is our plan. The problem, John, is the people who are controlling the distribution of the vaccine are governments. So there's no private organisation that are being able to buy the vaccine. Now, people will say, well, what about UAE? Well, I'll tell you what, UAE did it because UAE, the sponsor of UAE is the United Arab Emirates government, and they participated in a vaccine trial last year. So they were able to get their hands on 60 or 70 doses of the vaccine for their team and staff. Now, that is very rare, and every country is taking it in their own different ways. In Australia, I don't even think they've only just sort of started vaccinating people very, very recently. In some countries over here in Europe, they're a little bit down the road. I know in the UK they've done a really good job, and they've vaccinated, I think, everyone, or 90+% of risk people in the risk case scenario. But that doesn't include fit athletes and athletes. As much as we think we're doing a pretty important job for the world here, the most important thing is the people who are high at risk and elderly people and people who are working in frontline industries, in hospitality, whether it's hospitality, hospitals, you name it. So we are very far down on the pecking order, and I think some guys will be vaccinated in the next 2 or 3 months, but I think summer is a realistic target for vaccinating the whole organisation.
Well, we had issues in Australia. We had 250,000 doses that was held up by the Italian government, and I think they were running short, and they said, nah, we're keeping them. So we didn't get them.
They're probably down in Sicily now, those doses, I think.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Getting distributed with his family and friends.
Hey, before we wrap up Milan San-Remo, if he says to me every week, he goes, mate, you got to start playing those retro videos. They're bloody great. People love them. And what better than 2012 Milan San-Remo? I mean, you go back to that year and going into that race, I mean, obviously a bit of a breakthrough was winning the team time trial at Tirreno. It was a big target. But going into Milan San-Remo, you had Gerro. I mean, what was your expectations realistically of how the team were going to perform in that edition?
Yeah, so I remember Matt Goss was actually going in as the defending champion. So we had in that preparation phase, we had Simon Gerrans was preparing in Paris-Nice and doing really well in Paris-Nice. I think he is running some podium places behind Valverde and a couple of other top riders. So we knew Simon was obviously still in super shape after winning TDU. And the other one was Gossi, was bopping around there in Tirreno. He was going okay. Wasn't winning the sprints, but Milan San-Remo is not just about winning sprints. So we knew we had 2 guys in pretty good form. So the plan going into that race was to give them both an opportunity. One as the defending champion. So our plan A was if it was a sprint, then Gossi was our man. And our plan B was if something went on the Poggio, Simon was definitely going to have the freedom to go with that move if he could, and he certainly could. And he went away with two of the best bike riders of generation in Vincenzo Nibali and Fabian Spartacus Cancellara. And
this is the part in the backstage where you realise that they're not going to catch him.
Hey, it's just Fabian.
So at this point, were you thinking, hang on, we're up ski?
Yeah. Oh, look, one thing that Fabian was at the time was pretty predictable, and I think Simon really took advantage of Fabian's brute strength.
Okay, they're going to go early.
This would have to be probably the most excited celebration, I think, in the history, because this is a real big moment. That's as good as it gets. And then you got the reaction on the bus. I mean, the high-pitched squealing. I look back now here. I mean, it's piercing the ears. So apologies to the people that are listening to this podcast. But I mean, that was like the front row of a Bieber concert. Let's be honest. But I mean, the reactions out the front of the bus. I mean, it was just
that wasn't one of the
pandemonium.
podium girls. That was actually Dan Jones. That's right.
Yeah, but I remember even that night, I was saying iffy off air, like I wasn't prepared. I mean, I was homeless Dan. I was going suitcase to suitcase. I didn't prepare if there was an event or anything. I had no going out kit. I just remember going out with those Scott issued green sneakers, a pair of jeans, an Atari T-shirt. We went to one of the ritziest places in Monaco. I remember thinking, oh, how good's this? Like, I'll just write the coattails. I mean, yeah, it was just a fantastic day. You must look back at memories like that and just sort of pinch yourself.
It was, mate. It was. Look, we had started off really well at TDU, but that was the race that stamped the fact that we were here. And it was a very, very special moment in our organisation's history, that's for sure, mate.
All right. Well, another race we want to recap is obviously Paris-Nice. It was a big race for you guys. It was the first race that Michael Matthews rode in with his return back to Team Bike Exchange. You had the leader's jersey at one point there. What were your takeaways from that event, mate?
Yeah, really, really pleasing. I think so. As you know, Jonesy, with the planning, I'm thinking well in advance. And there's a group there at Paris-Nice that will be our Tour de France team as well. So to get Michael in working with Lucas Hamilton, working with Luke Durbridge, Armand Janssen, those sort of guys, it was a great start for us. And I think, you know, Michael was going after everything. And we went in with a plan there with Matt Heyman, who was running the show there at Paris-Nice, that we were going to go after the green jersey, the yellow jersey, really get the team up and about there, and they did a super job. And Michael, that was Michael's first race of the year, and I think that's really set Michael up for what's going to be a big 5 to 6 weeks from now until the Age Bash on the Age. And but no surprise with Michael. You know, he's a racer. He came in very, very well prepared with a training camp in Sierra Nevada, and I think we can only take positives out of that performance and how he gelled straight back into the team. The other one, which is no surprise to me, but maybe a surprise for a few people at home, is Lucas Hamilton. Now, we obviously identified Lucas as a leader for us on the GC front, and he's going to get a lot of opportunities this year to lead the team. And that was his first chance at leading the team in a World Tour event like Paris-Nice. And for him to finish fourth, and the way he went about the racing and the way he went about going after time bonuses, which at the end of the day decided those minor places, was a very, very pleasing. And Lucas has got a big day today in Catalonia, and then some bigger races coming on before he has a rest in spring. But it was a great sign for Lucas's first outing as leading our team on the GC front at that level.
Iffy?
Yes, and I was impressed. We interviewed Lucas just last week. He's such a gem, and he was over the moon. What was your take on what happened with Roglic on the last day? Because he seemed to have the race all sewn up, and then having the two falls. Do you reckon people took advantage of it, or the bike race was on? What's your thoughts?
Oh, look. the bike race was on, and I think you got to put a bit of context as well. So the first crash, so he dislocated his shoulder in the first crash. Most guys would have popped off, had a good cry in the ambulance, but he's a tough old one, Rodgelick. And to give a bit of context as well, Shackman punctured early in the stage, and no one waited for him when he was in second place. It was a 90K stage. It was on from kilometre zero. And, the old gentleman's agreement, it flies at times, but the sport has changed. And I think when a race is on, it's on. And it doesn't matter what happens to anybody. It's all in. And you can't afford to wait when a race is kicking off like that. And it was unfortunate for him. Rodgelick did deserve to win Paris-Nice. He was clearly the best bike rider there, but that's racing. And to have two crashes. Well, the first one, like I said, dislocated his shoulder, and obviously that would have put him off big time after that. But full merit for him for continuing on and trying to salvage something out of the race. But it's bike racing, and people will take advantage of that in that sort of situation.
He copped a bit of flack in the stage before when he ran down the breakaway, the young Italian for Bahrain, who was about to win his first World Tour stage, and Rodgelick shot him down the last 30 or 40 metres. He copped a bit of flack for that too, but hey, as you say, they don't give him away anymore.
No, and the thing is, what I love that about Rodgelick. He and I'd be the same if we're in exactly the same situation with Lucas Hamilton. I would have said, go for it. Let's take it. Right? I'm greedy when it comes to winning as well. And I think when you're on, you're on. The guys now, they do so fewer races in a season that when you have the chance to win, you owe it to your sponsors to take what you can. And I think there's presents and those sort of things. That era it's gone. It's gone. Okay, I get the fact that you can make friends and allies that you might be able to call on in different periods of the year, but it's nearly a bygone era. And I think when you can get opportunities to win, take it with both hands and run with it.
No, I disagree. I would have said to the guy, 20 grand cash. I'll let you win it. That's why I was never a rider, mate. I would have just gone, money talks. Money talks. And I would have slung him my bank details after the stage, given him the high five, and I would have been the winner. How good was Jonesy? Let him win. Yeah,
and Jonesy, that's why you are such a good gambler.
That's right. That's right.
And not calling the shots in a team car.
That's right. Mate, COVID, you don't know where your next check's coming from. You've got to make the most of it. Hey, just on Lucas, as if he said, we spoke to him last week. Geez, good head on his shoulders. These country kids that can stay grounded. But is there an underlying fire that has been lit from what happened at the Giro, particularly seeing the results from Jai and Teo? And let's be honest, he knows, hey, if I had that full 3 weeks, I would have been there in the pointy end. So it's game on. I've got that confidence. I'm going to take that moving forward.
Oh, 100%, Jonesy. And even on a couple of the stages there, the stage that Rodgelick clipped off the front, that actually stage 4, I think it was. Mate, I saw Jai Hindley move up to the front, and I saw Lucas follow him straight there. And then I think there's definitely a bit of that. I think it's and I love it. I love it. At the end of the day, what makes people tick is important. And if Lucas is thinking in the background, buddy, that was a wasted opportunity from the Giro last year, which it was for us on many fronts, because we firstly losing Simon, and then getting an opportunity for Lucas to show how good he was. If that's what's waking up in the morning, if that's what's getting him fired up to get the most out of his preparation and racing every day, well then great, because everyone ticks to a different beat, and he's going to show us today as well in Catalonia that he's in a very good place in spring, and we're only going to build on that during the season.
Well, it's funny, you watch a series like The Last Dance, and how often would Michael Jordan use anything to give himself that fire? Like if a opposition coach who's out at dinner wouldn't, acknowledge him, that's it, I'm going to score 60 tomorrow. And I think in professional sports, as you said, you've got to have that fire. So how much will, you carry the motivation with your team throughout the year? Do you often have to recall on stuff, or do you use any of that sort of stuff with the guys, or are they at the point where everyone's different, they'll get themselves fired up?
Oh no, I think Jonesy, there's a time and a place, and you've got to know the individuals. And I think sometimes, if you get the big stick out all the time, well, then it loses its effect. Or if you get certain things out all the time, so it's really finding the moment with that individual and with that group of when you need to push people's buttons and where you push them and how you push them. And sometimes, some guys. They don't need that, but some guys do need a little bit of a push every now and then, and some guys do need just a little bit of a reminder. But it is very, very much case by case, and that's the relationship you've got with those guys and the and where they've come from, and even what's happened last week or the week before has a big effect. So it's an ever-changing, ever-evolving situation with guys' heads, and knowing the guys is the most important thing.
Hey, John, how did you react as a rider? Did you react well to a rev up?
Yeah, well, I used to give them more than get them, but a rev up. The old man used to give me a few here and there, and I deserved every one of them.
Listen here, son, you got to give up the darts. You want to be a champion.
It's not time for the beers. Get off the beers. Get off the beers.
Yeah. Another race that you're obviously very passionate about, and I bloody miss going to Tirreno back in the day because, geez, the food was sensational on that event. What were your takeaways from Tirreno Adriatico this year?
For us as a team personally, I think we saw some good things out of there. There was the Queen stage. Simon Yates was second to Pogacar. I know the numbers on that climb were incredibly fast, and if you saw the depth of that field there, it shows that Simon's in a good place where we need to be pre-Giro. Again, today is a very, very big day in Catalonia up to Valder 2000, so that's going to be another big showing for all the world's best climbers who are present. But I think we took some real good positives out of that. Some other guys were building their condition for the classics. And I think getting that group together and starting that process of gelling was good. I think the thing that we have missed a little bit was that people may not realise is, so we do in our February program, obviously Australia was very different for us. Only 6 guys returned to Australia this winter to race, whereas usually we send back 12 or 13. So we have a vast, half the team arrive in Europe having already raced the Nationals, Cadell's race, the Sun Tour, TDU. And that sets us up a little bit differently. And then also the thing that didn't help us for our spring preparation is we do all the Spanish program in the month of February. So we had Mallorca, Murcia, Valencia, and Ruta del Sol. Now, all of those races got cancelled due to COVID. And we couldn't get into the French races in February. So we had guys who were starting their season at Strade Bianche or Tirreno last week. So, we are a little bit behind on the racing front. Now, that's going to come. And after one race, you're in more of a rhythm than you came into it. And some guys do need a little bit more racing to get going than a Michael Matthews, for example, who can just go away, sit on the side of a mountain for 3 weeks and come back in top form. But I think that's the takeaways from Tirreno for us, that it's a work in progress, but we saw some great signs. And I think Paris-Nice as well, we saw some even better signs with how that group really went after the race.
Yeah, I thought it was strange with that. Simon was defending champion at Tirreno, and we expected more. And then that early first mountain stage, he was off the front, a really good, strong breakaway. He seemed to blow, and he went straight out the back when the main bunch caught him. I thought, oh, gee, this is the end for him. And as you say, 2 days later in the Queen stage, he was brilliant. He almost caught Pogacar, so he came back quite quickly.
Yeah, and look, that was what happened there with Simon, is he cramped in that stage. So it was his. So he was in Strade Bianche, his first race. He crashed, and he hurt himself. And look, it wasn't something that was major, but you touch down at 50k an hour. 3 days later, you're not going to be at your best. And then he had 2 days off the bike. He was supposed to race the next day in Lanciano, had Sunday and Monday off, and then started Tirreno. So he was a little bit fresh in there, and that was the second road stage, and he went very, very deep in that last hour. And you saw he won the intermediate sprint, got away in a very, very elite group that looked like they were going to win the stage, and then he cramped. And so that was the reason why he went from 1.8k to go being in the front 4 looking for the stage win to being dropped 500 meters later. So it was something that was easily resolved. But it was his second race day or third race day of the year. He went very deep for an hour, and maybe he made a little bit of a mistake with his fueling or his hydration in that last hour of race. It was a 200+ K day, and it was something, as you saw, that 48 hours later, it certainly didn't affect him.
No, definitely not.
You need some of Durbo's bloody salt tablets in the glove compartment, mate. That'll prevent that. Hey, we've got a few live comments, and if you are watching and tuning in live, make sure you join the show. We've got one from B. Foxcroft. Morning, fellas, with an R. Awesome to listen live. Can you ask Whitey if he expects Esteban to compete for podiums again? His form seems to be nowhere near it was 3 to 4 years ago.
Yeah, look, that's we could have a podcast just on that story if we wanted to. But I think look, Esteban's had some, he's had health issues and some other issues as well that it has affected him to a certain extent. I think he is in good shape at the moment. We're going to have a much better idea of how he's going now in Catalunya. But I think one thing, he needs to get back to that level that we saw him in 2016 especially. But I think he needs to actually even improve on that. I think one thing this sport has shown over the last 12 months is the level in the last 2 years with the young guys has gone up another notch. And I think for him to get back to the level of winning races or podium World Tour events, he's actually going to have to be better than he was in 2016 because these Pochacars and Almeidas and these Hershey's and those guys who've come on the scene in the last 12 months, they've raised the bar even further. So, look, I think we've seen some positive signs. Esteban's come back from Colombia 10 days ago. He's doing Catalunya this week, Basque the week after, and then the Ardennes. So I'm pretty excited to see what he's capable of doing, and we're going to see that this afternoon.
Got a few other comments. Wombat Breath, who loves the show. Great to catch you live. Great memories from the old backstage passes. And he's thrown in Dan channeling his inner Vinokurov. In case there's legals tapped into this show, we'll just let that one slip through the keeper. Jack Bartle says, Whitey, who do you think is the biggest threat to Simon at the Giro?
Bernal. I think definitely Bernal. I've seen the long list that Ineos are taking to support him. They're taking Martinez, Sivakov, Sosa. Most teams would be happy with one of those support guys as their leader, and they're going to have a hit squad there. So I think definitely Bernal, and I think Bernal, Landa, and Simon are the big three for the Giro for me. I think Nibali, as much as he's been an incredible athlete over the last decade, it doesn't seem like he's been able to return to that form that won in the Giro when he beat Esteban 4 years ago. He's getting on, and I think those older guys really struggled with the lockdown last year because if you're a creature of habit, used to racing 70, 80 days a year and only racing 30 days last year and having to spend 10 weeks on a home trainer, I think those guys really struggled with that last year. And I think, like I said before, I think the bar has been raised, and I think it's pretty hard to improve at the age of 36.
Just on those super teams you're talking about, rattling off the riders at Ineos, can you use that to your advantage? Like if you want to win the GC and you look what happened at the Tour de France last year, sit off, wait till the death, pipe them right near the finish for the last couple of days. And essentially it takes the pressure off what you're doing as well.
Yeah, and without revealing too much how we're going to approach the Giro, it does change things. 2 years ago when we had the jersey early on and we kept the jersey, that's a different pressure. And that's a different pressure going into the race. Well, I can't even remember who Sky even had at that race. Whoever they weren't. Oh, well, actually, they won in the end. but it was in reverse, wasn't it? We didn't even see them the first 2 weeks. They sat back off us. They rode off us. And then Chris Froome personally had an incredible day, which catapulted him from 4 minutes behind to winning the bike race on one day. And I think we'll be using those sort of similar tactics in the Giro. Whereas we know they've got the favourite, they have got the best team on paper, and we just need to be a little bit more selective with how we approach our tactics in the race, and pick and choose our moments more.
Iffy?
Yeah, look, I'm really looking forward to the Giro, but we've got a few races to go on before we get to there. So, what is the plan? So, I was going to ask you where you were setting Simon for the Tour of the Giro. You just answered that. But in the upcoming classics, what's the plan in these next few weeks with Flanders and then the Ardennes Classics?
Yeah, so like I was saying before, so today's a triple race day. So we've got a team racing in Italy today in Coppa Bartoli, which is it's a smaller Italian race, but because of all the cancellation to races in February, there's 9 World Tour teams racing there. There's 2 or 3. So that's a race that's going on in Italy around the Bologna area, or a little bit to the coast around Rimini. Then we've got a team racing in the Panne today, which is the first of the Belgium Classics. Due to some illnesses and injuries, we're starting with only 5 riders today, but we'll be back into full strength for the weekend with E3 and again Wevelgem. Now up there we're running a program with around Michael Matthews and Luke Durbridge. They're our 2 key guys. Obviously Durbo is more of a guy that is going to have to go long, which I think works well, especially with, I think there'll be a few teams quite scared of Van Aert and Van der Poel, because especially Quickstep, which is the next 4 weeks is their bread and butter. And I think the general trend of racing we've seen up there in Belge is people are going from far. This is the race winning moves are not happening in the last 30K of a race anymore. Sometimes they're going from 60, 70K from the finish. And so Durbo's our man for that sort of stuff, which also really complements Michael as well. Whereas Michael will be riding really more off some of the other big favourites. And he can, try to come across in the later phases with those big guys when they move. So, for the next couple of weeks in the Flemish part of the classics, it's the combination of Durbridge and Matthews. When we get into the Ardennes, we'll run a bit more of a mixed bag. So Michael is such a versatile athlete that he will obviously be carrying on there for Amstel, Flèche, and Liège. And then we're bringing back in Lucas Hamilton for Liège especially. And we're not sure about Flèche, who will be leading us there. It'll be based off form. I don't think we've got anyone who can win Flèche or even podium Flèche, but we've got a few guys who could run top 10. And then on the other side, we've got our Giro roster who are preparing. Some are preparing in Coppa Bartoli, some in Catalunya. Then we've got them doing an altitude camp before we bring them together for Tour of the Alps. Now, it's a race that used to be called, you might remember, John Trentino, which has been on for a long time, and it's 5 days in the Alpine region in Austria, in Italy, crisscrosses across the borders, and you do some of the similar climbs that we do in the Giro, but still at the tail end of winter. So it's a tricky one weather-wise. But we'll have 6 of our 8 Giro roster riding that one around Simon, and then Tour of Romandy, which is the last sort of stage race in spring, and that's another one where Lucas Hamilton will be leading us. So the big thing we're waiting on in these next couple of weeks is it looks like, if you believe all the rumours that are floating around here, it looks like Paris-Roubaix highly likely won't be on, and they'll be putting it back to an October date. That's what all the politicians are saying in that region. We've heard nothing official as of yet, but it doesn't look good. In that part of France, COVID still is an issue, and I think that the local governments up there are really more scared about. You've seen Paris-Roubaix, how crazy it is fan-wise, and they don't want a mobile crowd of 20 or 40,000 people jumping between sectors in the middle of a pandemic. Whereas the Belgium races, they have made it very, very clear that you can only watch the race if the race passes where you live. So the crowd control is a lot more stringent in Belgium, whereas in France, which obviously Paris-Roubaix is not raced in Belgium, it's raced on the border. They don't have the same restrictions, and they're really worried about people coming across the border and from Belgium to watch the race, and the French fans congregating too closely in what is we're still in the depths of the second or third wave of our pandemic over here.
Yeah, we're talking to Sarah Giganti tomorrow night, and I know that she was saying
no, not tomorrow night, John. Friday night. You got your date, night. Your bloody dates again.
Friday night. She was heading down to do some recon on the Roubaix course, but as you say, it looks very much like it's not going to happen.
Yeah, well, look, your guess is as good as mine. We're just waiting on official official news there from the ASO, but it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good for Paris-Roubaix. But look, if that's the only race we lose in spring and it gets put back to October, then that's fine. It's fine. It just changes. It just changes some planning. But at the end of the day, I think the sport's done a very good job managing our calendar in the circumstances that we have. And to lose one day in spring, considering everything that's going on, it'll be a minor loss. And if they put it back in October, then it'll still be run and it'll still be raced by the same guys.
Now, I've got another video flashback I want to bring up from 2012 that's an absolute belter because we're talking about the classics. Now, before I get to that, Johnny, it's your time to open up the shoulders, get your script out, give the sponsors a plug. Let's open the batting with Let's Go Motorhomes.
Well, yes, the Let's Go Motorhomes. Why not Holiday in Australia's best motorhomes and campers? They love helping people with their incredible holidays. One of Australia's leading motorhomes and camper van rental companies. They've got vehicles to suit all types of travellers for all kinds of adventures, and you can go where you want. So I'm going to ask you very shortly, Whitey, if you had a week to travel around a Let's Go motorhome, where would it be? So you can get your answer ready, mate. But travelling, so you're going to say something there, Daniel?
No, I was just going to say, why wouldn't you just ask him that at the end?
Well, I will. I'm not even prepared.
Double dip your corn chip. Okay. Righto.
So, whatever.
Come on, mate. You're doing a great job, John. Just keep going.
I've lost my place. But the one thing about they say with Let's Go is you got to plan. Something I haven't done very well with this ad. But we have the spontaneity of where you're going to go in your next adventure. So, Whitey.
Spontaneity. That's a new word. If that doesn't move Let's Go camper vans, nothing will. The spontaneity. Just do it.
Where would you go for your Let's Go motorhome holiday if you had anywhere in Australia? Whitey, where's the place?
Anywhere in Australia. Well, I'm a big fan of that Coffs Harbour region. It's a bit of a drive up the coast from Sydney, about 6 hours, I think, in a caravan. But it's far enough up north that the water temperature is nearly Queensland water temperature, and I love that. I love that area, Coffs Harbour. It's changed a fair bit over the last 15 years from a pretty sleepy town of about 35,000. I think it's about 80,000 now. But it's a beautiful, beautiful area right on the coast there. Great beaches and a big enough town that you can do whatever you want. I like the area. I could actually see myself living in a Let's Go caravan. In somewhere up there. I tell you, mate, I love it.
Well, they've got ovens in them, so I thought you would have done like a pie tour. Just started stockpiling them and then just sampling it on the road.
Oh, I can just make my own stall, mate. And that could be my next job. Next to the beach somewhere I can see myself.
At the moment, I think you might need a Let's Go a motor boat to get through.
Yeah, I know.
You're all flooded up there at the moment.
I've heard. And look, as far as the floods go, how are the floods going? Where are they affecting the worst in Australia at the moment, guys?
It's all the north coast there, from virtually the Gold Coast right down to Sydney. It's pretty horrific.
Yeah. I've seen the old mice plague. Is that going to help out the mice plague by killing the little buggers?
I think they have. I think they've just washed them away.
There'll be a few cane toads as well. Iffy, Jaco, have you got a script for this one? Or are you just going to wing it?
We don't need a script for this because, I mean, the funny thing is about all the Let's Go motorhomes just happen to be Jacos, as we say. But if at the moment, I mean, I think it's like 10,000 back orders for Jaco campers and caravans, so it's going pretty well. But look, if you're going to be looking at a Jaco caravan, why not go? If you're going to be looking at a caravan, you'd go for a Jaco. I mean, support the people who support us. So, Jaco caravans, let's go.
That's it. And Mitchelton wines, Johnny.
Well, whack them all in together. Well, Mitchelton, the one of Australia's favourite wineries and a place of escape. Experience the history, the beauty, and the serenity of the Goulburn Valley at your own pace, looking over the vineyards from the iconic tower, staying at their new hotel, relaxing by the pool. Look at it. Fantastic. Recharging in the day spa, exploring the seasonal menu at the Muse and stopping by the Providore, touring the cellars, and, of course, tasting their signature wines. The Muse restaurants are actually amazing. I'll be up there next week. Sample their seasonal menu with all, as I say, wines perfectly paired, and we've got to recharge by the day and relax by night in the special spa. And if all else fails, well,
if all else fails, get married.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If all else fails, you just got to cash your chips in, do it at Mitchell.
Down you go.
All else fails, get down into the cellar and look in there. Absolutely amazing. I was talking to you're right there, mate.
You're all over the shop with your script. I can't follow. Now we're talking about the art gallery.
We are. And it's the most amazing. It's the largest private art Aboriginal art gallery in the world. And there it is, the $10,000 Land Cruiser with the €2.5 million paint job.
Waddy, have you ever heard a more polished group get through sponsored promos than what you just experienced?
Not in this part of the world, anyway, mate. Not in this part of the world.
Well,
actually, you have given me a great idea for when I return to Australia next year. Unfortunately, due to COVID, I've been stuck over here for a year and a bit. But I am definitely going to try to come home with the family in December this year, and I reckon I might ask Jerry if I can get one of those Let's Go caravans and have a good old little holiday up to Coffs and travel around Australia, because my kids have seen a lot more of Europe as they have than their own country, Australia. So it would be a bloody great way to see Australia in a Let's Go caravan.
Mate, I reckon ABC would almost commission a documentary series on that. There's at least 8 solid episodes. Well, it's time now for a word from Bike Exchange, and all I can say is thank God it is compiled in a polished ad and we don't have to talk to a script. So,
look at this bike. You think it's just a bike, right? But it's not. It's a bike 374 people are looking at. This guy, this girl, them, all looking at it. People from here, there, and wherever this is. People that are looking for a bike. Or just a piece of it. Amateurs, semi-amateurs, and pro-amateurs. This guy wants this bike, but with this crank and these bars. This could be the perfect match. But not this one. This girl has a bike to sell, and thousands of people might purchase it. Eyes on Bikes help grow small businesses. His, hers, yours, and the latest data and insights help those businesses keep moving. We are the world's #1 bike marketplace, with over 500,000 products and 900 brands, where buyers and sellers are brought together in a place where a bike is never just a bike. Bike Exchange, where the world buys, sells, learns, and rides.
thanks again to our great mates at Bike Exchange. Now it's time for that segment. It's back, the Detour DeLorean.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Now, Waddy, Panne is starting. It's not 3 days anymore. But when I mentioned the 2012 edition of 3 Days of Panne, is there any particular moments from that edition of the race that really jump out at you?
There's a couple, but when I lost my marbles. So I lost my marbles at that car that didn't get out of the way quick enough when Svein Tuff was catching his Minuteman after in about 7 minutes.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. And here's the vision. So it was meant to be. Can you set the scene? Like Swaino was trying to get on the podium here.
Yeah, which I think he nearly did in the end. I think he nearly did in the end anyway. It was our first year. We were up and about there, and Sveino is obviously one of the world's. He finished second in the World Time Trial Championship. He was coming up on his Minuteman and into a dead turn U-turn, and the road, as you can see, there is only one car width. Motorbikes in the way. Sven's coming up at a very fast speed, and the car in front, which had guests in it, didn't quite get out of the way. fast enough.
Yeah. Let's bring the audio up for this bit. This is classic. Listen to this spray.
Oh, you muppet!
Yeah, he couldn't even do a proper Yui.
That is it by a second or two.
And then
This is bull.
this is
You let VIPs drive behind riders. It's bull.
it's a fair spray for the commissaire,
Is it
but
a show race or a club race? It's if it costs us to win, this is bull.
that was an all-time classic spray. But let's fast forward to the end. I mean, Sueno has lost the race by or lost the podium. I think it was by like 8 seconds. Or it was really close.
Yeah.
You've gone into firing another complaint to the third umpire. I think you got pretty much donuts. Hey, what can we do, eh? And it's bike racing. And Sueno's just on the rollers here. Bad luck, mate. He's like, how sketchy was that, man? He's like, yeah.
But when you've got through, the motorbike hit the car, and the back of the motorbike's flown off onto the road.
He's like, yeah.
I took it well. I took it like a gentleman, didn't I?
That kind of got me fired up again.
But it was a chill dude. But yeah, no, that was, you couldn't script that. You couldn't script
Oh,
that.
mate. I've caught up with Svano. I keep in contact with Svano. He's going well. He's relocated back to Canada now, and settling in. He just had a baby girl a week ago. Sent me a message on Tirreno, and another addition to his family. But he was one of the most special people that I've ever worked with. And it didn't matter what situation we're in, you'd get the same Svano. In the morning, in the nighttime, under stress, you name it. And he was a very, very good balance for us as especially as a new team. He was a real stabilizer for the entire time he was with our organisation.
Well, you raised a good point. Is that why someone like a Matt Heyman's probably a good influence for these younger guys, particularly coming up to the classics now, just being that sort of level head that can sort of pass on all of his sort of wisdom as well?
Oh, 100%. There was no better person I would have running the show up north than Matt Heyman with this organisation. He is like having a Belgie without having the Belgie passport. He knows those roads like the back of his hand. He's been racing on them since he was a kid. He has a passion for those races, and he has a really good connection with our group up there. And look, it's not the strongest part of our organisation. You know, we've gone. We obviously the GC is where has been our bread and butter at stage races over the last few years. But, I think with the addition of Michael Matthews into that group, I think we're going to see some good things over the next couple of weeks. And sometimes you need a bit of luck. And but I think we've got that group up there is in very good hands with Matt Heyman running the show.
We've got some more fan questions coming in. Simon Heavey says, "Whitey, is Lucas Hamilton a walk-up start for the Le Tour this year?"
Well, I can't name our Tour de France roster, but let's just say that he's going very well in the long list for the month of July.
Yeah, Wendy Superfans checked in. Hi, Dan and John. Just got home from SCC. Nice to see Matt on. Best of luck for the team, Matt. Your mate, Iffy, Vazzy, whack them in all together. Another Iffy classic. I think he was talking about the sponsors. Numbnuts has said, any word from Tika Tiwari on how he felt at his first race back? I think that's Sam Bewley, given that he had his Twitter account hacked by Tika Tiwari.
No, so Bill's pinned on a number for the first time yesterday it was a double stage day. It was 100K in the morning and team's time trial in the afternoon. And I think he's in for a pretty intense week this week. Copper Barkley this year is one of the hardest editions meters of climbing wise, and I think they've got a circuit day today with 3,300 meters of climbing. So Bills is straight into the fire, and his goal is there to try to make the Giro roster come May. He's had a hell of a lot of bad luck in the last 12 months, but he's been working away really hard, and fingers crossed he can get back into the groove of racing quick.
And we've got another comment for our great mate, Jason Cruz. A decent spray, Waddy, from Panne. Were you dished out any fines for that?
We were not. And I'll just say it's lucky that I couldn't jump out of that car quick because I was pretty ropeful. Oh, look, you know me, Jonesy and Nippy. I can get pretty high strung at times. And I think I have mellowed out a little bit over the last decade. But, I know how much hard work those guys put into getting results, and Sveno was up for the win there, and I did lose a little bit of control there for a few minutes, let's say.
Now we've got another question that's not on the list, but the old man on the drive back from Geelong today said, "Oh, can you ask Waddy, is there any riders on the list that are flying under the radar that we should be looking out for on your team at the moment?"
Yeah. There is, and I suppose he's not too much under the radar now because we've talked about him a fair bit, is obviously Lucas. But I think the people who caught Catalonia the other day is Dion Smith. So the first stage of Catalonia, there was a little breakaway that, there wasn't, we tried to chase, we didn't get too much help, and in the end, the break stayed away by 15 seconds. Now, Dion won the sprint there for 5th and at Catalonia, and for him, we gave him the nickname as DI2, which is Darryl Impey II. He didn't really like it. But I see Dion as a very similar rider to Darryl in the fact that, he's not an out-and-out sprinter, but when they're those reduced sprints, he's certainly capable of polishing off the best of the rest, and sometimes that's for the win. And I think that was a great start for him day one in Catalonia, and he's going to get another couple of opportunities maybe this week, then in Basque, and then Romandy. So I think Dion Smith's a bit of a sleeper. Rob Stannard, which he's only 22. He's chipping away there at developing as fast as he can. And the other one who I think is Caden Groves. Now, Caden, unfortunately, has been involved in some crashes at UAE Tour and Paris-Nice, and he's going to have a little bit of a spell now. But I'm a big fan of Caden, and I really believe that Caden is going to net us some wins this year. It might not be in the next 6 weeks due to what's happened in spring, but you saw the turn of speed he had in some of those Aussie races, and I think if you asked us at the end of October, my prediction is that Caden will give us between 3 and 5 wins by the end of the year.
Good stuff. Iffy?
I just noticed you talked about Cobber Batali. It's great to see the old Cav back, and he's in the leader's jersey at the moment, eh?
It is, and it looks like the old Wolf Pack has given him his mojo back, eh? No, it's bloody great to see because I think Cav's been in a bit of a rut there for 4 years really, and if this is Cav's last year, it would be great to see the best sprinter. For me, I'm calling him the best sprinter ever. I know that he hasn't won as many stages as Eddie Merckx, but Eddie Merckx was the best bike rider ever, and I think Cav's definitely the best sprinter that the sport's ever seen, and it would be really nice for him to finish off the season, finish off his career with some nice wins.
Yeah, no, it'd be fantastic.
And he's had two seconds so far, so he's knocking on the door. He's knocking on the door.
That's right. Anything you want to add before we let Whitey go?
No, look, it's great to speak again, mate. And look, let's hope we can get a big one in the next couple of weeks.
And before I let you go, Matt, what was the food like at Tirreno? I can't let you go without asking you a food question.
Yeah, look, if you're eating poorly in Italy, you've really hit rock bottom. You've really hit rock bottom, and we didn't. So I think that the hotels weren't the best that we've had there, but I think that is due to the fact that so many hotels are closed. And not allowed to be open. I made some bookings for some Giro Recon that I did, and a lot of them got closed at the last minute because in Italy, as it is in most countries here in Europe, a lot of the COVID controls are very regional. So that's changing week to week. So, in Siena, where Strada Bianchi was, none of the teams were allowed to stay in Siena. They had to put them out because Siena was a red zone. The race was unlucky to even be even held with no fans. And so I think the hotels were okay, but the food never lets you down in Italy, or wine. And we were treated to some great meals over our little 2-week jaunt in Italy.
I know COVID's probably spelt the death of the buffet, but what about those Parmesan cheese wheels? Have they survived?
They haven't survived COVID, and they have not. They have not.
Oh, no.
They'll be back. Don't worry. They'll be back come summer, I reckon. They'll be back.
Yeah.
But the buffet still exists, but you've got to. It's like going back to Sizzlers, but this time there's someone behind the bar serving you from the buffet at the moment.
Okay. Well, as soon as they open up these borders, John and I will be snivelling around to Jerry trying to do this show on the road just to get among the tucker more than anything.
I can just see you boys travelling in a Let's Go caravan, like National Lampoon's European Vacation, going live from the side of the road. Let's hope sooner rather than later.
That's it. All right. Well, thanks again for joining the show, Whitey. We'll be checking again throughout the year, no doubt. And good luck for these upcoming blocks of races. Fingers crossed we get some pretty big results.
Yeah, look, it's a very, very busy month of racing. And if you're a fan of cycling, it's the month to be staying up late and watching races.
Bloody oath. Well, we look forward to it. Thanks again. And thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Detour Live. We'll see you again soon. Sarah Gigante in a couple of days' time. See you then.